The rain came down in sheets across downtown Nashville, turning the sidewalks into rivers of gray water. Lucy Bennett stood outside Betty's diner, her thin jacket doing nothing to keep out the cold. Her brown hair hung in wet strands around her pale face. 8 years old, and she was learning that some people would not even look at her. "Please, just one spoon," she said to a man hurrying past. "My daddy needs to eat." The man pulled his coat tighter and walked faster. Lucy's stomach twisted, but not from hunger. She had eaten the last of the crackers that morning. Her father had not eaten anything in 2 days. He told her he was not hungry, but she knew better. She saw how his hands shook. She heard how his voice got weaker. That morning, when she tried to wake him, he barely opened his eyes. His face was gray like the rain outside their apartment window. He told her to go to school, but she could not leave him like that. Instead, she came here, to the busy street where people with full bellies walked past her like she was invisible. "Miss, please," Lucy tried again, approaching a woman in a red coat. "Do you have any food? Just a little bit." The woman glanced down, her face softening for a moment. Then she shook her head and kept walking. Lucy felt tears burn behind her eyes, but she blinked them back. Crying would not help her father. She thought about this morning. Her father, Tom Bennett, had been lying on their mattress on the floor of their tiny apartment. They lost their real home 6 months ago, when he could not work anymore. His back injury from the construction site meant no more paychecks, no more insurance, no more anything. He tried to find other work. Every morning, he would put on his cleanest shirt and walk to different stores, different offices, anywhere that might hire him. But his injury meant he could not lift heavy things. Most places needed workers who could do physical labor. The office jobs wanted people with college degrees. Tom had neither the strength nor the education they wanted. Lucy watched her father shrink a little more each day. Not just his body, though that too. His spirit seemed to dim. He stopped smiling. He stopped singing the silly songs he used to make up. He just sat quiet, staring at nothing. 2 days ago, they had half a loaf of bread and some peanut butter. Tom made Lucy a sandwich and told her he already ate while she was at school. She knew he was lying. She could see it in his eyes. But she was so hungry that she ate it anyway. She hated herself for that. Yesterday, they had nothing. Tom told her to go to school, where they would give her lunch. She went, but she could not focus on anything the teacher said. All she could think about was her father at home, alone, hungry, maybe getting sicker. This morning, he could barely lift his head. Lucy knew she had to do something. She could not watch him fade away. So she came here, to this street with its bright windows and the smell of food drifting from the diner. "Can anyone help?" Lucy called out, her voice small against the rain. "My daddy is sick. He needs food." A teenager in a group of friends laughed. Not at her, maybe at something one of his friends said. But it felt like he was laughing at her. Lucy's face burned with shame. She thought about going into the diner. But last week, when she tried that, the manager told her she could not beg inside. He said it was bad for business. He was not mean about it. He even gave her a roll from the day before. But he made it clear she could not come back. The roll was long gone. Her father had insisted she eat most of it. "Please," Lucy said to another passerby, her voice breaking. "Just one spoon of anything. My daddy has not eaten in 2 days. Please." Would you let a child beg for food on the street? Have you ever walked past someone who needed help? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and subscribe to see how one act of kindness changes everything. The person did not even slow down. Lucy felt her hope draining away like the rain into the gutters. Maybe she should try another street. Maybe she should go back home and lie down next to her father and just wait for something, anything, to happen. But then she thought about his face this morning. The way his lips were dry and cracked. The way his breathing sounded strange, too fast and too shallow at the same time. She could not give up. He was her only family. Her mother died when Lucy was 3. She barely remembered her. Just vague impressions of softness and a voice that sang lullabies. Her father was everything. He was the one who made her breakfast before school, back when they had food for breakfast. He was the one who checked her homework, even though he struggled with some of the math himself. He was the one who held her when she had nightmares. Now he needed her. and she would not fail him. Lucy approached an older couple walking arm in arm. They looked kind, like grandparents. Maybe they would understand. "Excuse me," she said, stepping into their path. Water splashed up from her shoes. "I know you do not know me, but my daddy is very sick. He has not had any food for 2 days. Could you spare anything? Even just $1, so I can buy him something small." The woman's face changed. Her eyes went soft with pity, but then her husband pulled her along. "Sorry, sweetheart," the woman called back. "We can't help every person we meet." Lucy stood frozen as they walked away. Can't help every person. But she was not every person. She was just one girl with one father who needed one meal. The rain fell harder. Lucy's hands were numb. Her teeth chattered. But she stayed there on the sidewalk, watching people flow past like she was a rock in a stream. None of them stopped. None of them saw her. Or maybe they saw her, and chose to look away. She wondered if this was how her father felt every day, asking for work and getting nothing. The rejection must hurt worse than hunger. It must crush something inside you, piece by piece. Lucy closed her eyes and made a silent prayer. She was not sure if anyone was listening. Her father used to take her to church, back when they had nice clothes and a car to get there. But they had not gone in months. She wondered if that meant her prayers did not count anymore. Still, she tried. "Please," she thought. "Please send someone. Anyone. We just need a little help. Just enough to keep going." When she opened her eyes, the street looked the same. People rushing. Rain falling. Nobody stopping. Lucy took a deep breath. She would try one more time. One more person. And if that did not work, she would try again. And again. Until someone listened. Because giving up meant going home to watch her father slip away. And she could not do that. She would not do that. She spotted a man in a dark coat standing under the awning of a shop across the street. He seemed to be watching her. Lucy squared her thin shoulders and started walking toward him, splashing through puddles, her heart pounding with hope and fear. Maybe this man would be different. Maybe he would be the one who finally saw them. James Crawford had seen a lot of things in his 52 years. He built his construction empire from nothing, working his way up from pouring concrete at age 16 to owning the largest building company in Tennessee. He knew what struggle looked like. He remembered what hunger felt like. But watching this little girl beg in the rain stirred something deep in his chest that he had not felt in years. He was supposed to be meeting a client at Betty's Diner in 10 minutes. Instead, he stood under the shop awning, unable to move, watching this child approach stranger after stranger. Each rejection seemed to make her smaller somehow. But she kept trying. When she started walking toward him, James could see her face clearly for the first time. She was so young, maybe 8 or 9. Her eyes were old, though. Too old. That was the thing that broke his heart completely. "Sir," Lucy said when she reached him. Her voice was steady, but her body shook from cold. "My name is Lucy. My daddy is very sick at home. He has not eaten in 2 days. I am not lying. I promise I am not lying. Can you please help us?" James crouched down to her level, not caring that his expensive suit pants touched the wet ground. "Lucy, I believe you. Tell me where your daddy is." Her eyes went wide. "Really? You will help?" "Yes," James said firmly. "Right now. Take me to him." "But I do not want money," Lucy said quickly. "I mean, I do, but not for me. Just food for my daddy. He is so sick. I think he might be dying." James felt his jaw tighten. "How far is your home?" 3 blocks. The old apartment building on 5th Street. "Show me." James stood and held out his hand. Lucy took it without hesitation, her small fingers freezing cold in his palm. They walked quickly through the rain. James pulled out his phone and canceled his meeting with a brief text. Some things were more important than business deals. "What is your daddy's name?" James asked as they walked. "Tom Bennett. He used to work construction, but he hurt his back. Nobody will hire him now." "Construction," James repeated. That explained the desperation. He knew how tough the industry could be. One injury could end everything. "What about family? Relatives who could help?" "Just us. Mama died when I was little. Daddy's parents died before I was born. We do not have anybody else. James's throat tightened. Alone in the world except for each other. You have somebody now, he said. You have me. Lucy looked up at him, rain streaming down her face. She did not say anything, but he saw hope flicker in her eyes. The building on 5th Street was exactly the kind of place James expected. Old brick, crumbling in places, windows covered with cardboard. The kind of building that should have been condemned years ago. The kind of place desperate people ended up when they ran out of options. When she started walking toward him, James could see her face clearly for the first time. She was so young, maybe 8 or 9. Her eyes were old, though. Too old. That was the thing that broke his heart completely. Sir, Lucy said when she reached him. Her voice was steady, but her body shook from cold. My name is Lucy. My daddy is very sick at home. He has not eaten in 2 days. I am not lying. I promise I am not lying. Can you please help us? James crouched down to her level, not caring that his expensive suit pants touched the wet ground. Lucy, I believe you. Tell me where your daddy is. Her eyes went wide. Really? You will help? Yes, James said firmly. Right now. Take me to him. But I do not want money, Lucy said quickly. I mean, I do, but not for me. Just food for my daddy. He is so sick. I think he might be dying. James felt his jaw tighten. How far is your home? 3 blocks. The old apartment building on 5th Street. Show me. James stood and held out his hand. Lucy took it without hesitation, her small fingers freezing cold in his palm. They walked quickly through the rain. James pulled out his phone and canceled his meeting with a brief text. Some things were more important than business deals. What is your daddy's name? James asked as they walked. Tom Bennett. He used to work construction, but he hurt his back. Nobody will hire him now. Construction, James repeated. That explained the desperation. He knew how tough the industry could be. One injury could end everything. What about family? Relatives who could help? Just us. Mama died when I was little. Daddy's parents died before I was born. We do not have anybody else. James's throat tightened. Alone in the world except for each other. You have somebody now, he said. You have me. Lucy looked up at him, rain streaming down her face. She did not say anything, but he saw hope flicker in her eyes. The building on 5th Street was exactly the kind of place James expected. Old brick, crumbling in places, windows covered with cardboard. The kind of building that should have been condemned years ago. The kind of place desperate people ended up when they ran out of options. Lucy led him up 3 flights of stairs. The hallway smelled like mold and old cooking grease. She stopped at a door with peeling paint and pulled a key from her pocket. Daddy, she called as she pushed the door open. Daddy, I brought help. The apartment was barely bigger than a closet. A mattress on the floor. A few clothes folded neatly in a corner. A hot plate that clearly had not been used in days. And on the mattress, a man who looked more dead than alive. Tom Bennett's eyes were closed. His face was hollow, skin stretched tight over bones. His breathing came in shallow gasps. He wore jeans and a flannel shirt, both clean despite their age. Even in his suffering, he had maintained some dignity. Sir, James said, kneeling beside the mattress. Sir, can you hear me? Tom's eyes fluttered open. They were gray, like his daughter's, but clouded with confusion. Lucy, he whispered. Baby, you okay? I am fine, Daddy. This man is going to help us. Tom tried to shake his head. No, no charity. We do not need. His words dissolved into coughing. Mr. Bennett, James said firmly but gently. Your daughter has been standing in the rain begging strangers for food because you are starving. You absolutely need help, and I'm going to give it to you. Do not argue with me. Tom's eyes focused on James, seeing him clearly for the first time. Maybe he saw something there, some understanding from one man to another. Or maybe he was just too weak to fight anymore. Either way, he nodded slightly. James pulled out his phone and dialed. I need an ambulance at 847 5th Street, apartment 3C. Man in his early 30s, severe malnutrition, possible dehydration. Yes, I will stay on the line. I can't pay for an ambulance, Tom said, his voice barely audible. I can, James replied. And I will. Stop thinking about money and start thinking about getting better for your daughter. Lucy knelt on the other side of the mattress, taking her father's hand. Please, Daddy. Please let him help. I am so scared. Tom's eyes filled with tears. I am sorry, baby girl. I am so sorry. I should have done better. You did your best, Lucy said, her own tears falling. You always give me everything. You give me your food. You keep me safe. You are the best daddy. I am not asking you to pay me back, James said. I am offering you a job. You will earn your salary like everyone else. The only thing I am giving you for free is a chance. Take it. Tom's eyes filled with tears again. In the past few hours, he had cried more than he had in the past few years. It was like something inside him that had been locked tight was finally breaking open. Yes, he said. Yes, I will take it. Thank you. James smiled. Good. We will talk details after you are released. Dr. Foster, how long will he need to stay? 48 hours minimum, she said. We need to monitor his recovery and make sure there are no complications. He will need to stay on a special diet for the next few weeks as his body adjusts. Whatever he needs, James said. He pulled out his wallet and handed Dr. Foster his credit card. Please put all charges on this. Everything. Tests, medications, food, whatever. Dr. Foster took the card with a nod. I will have billing contact you. Mr. Bennett, you are very lucky. Not many people have someone willing to step up like this. I know, Tom said, his voice thick. I know. After Dr. Foster left, Lucy climbed carefully onto the bed next to her father. Tom wrapped his arm around her, pulling her close. I am sorry, baby girl, he whispered. I am so sorry you had to go through that today. It is okay, Daddy, Lucy said. You would do the same for me. You have done the same for me. You always make sure I eat first. James stood and walked to the window, giving them a moment. Outside, the rain had stopped completely. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. He thought about how the day had started. He was supposed to meet a client about a shopping mall project. Instead, he met a little girl who taught him what real courage looked like. His phone buzzed with a text from his assistant asking about tomorrow's schedule. James typed back a quick response. Clear my morning appointments. I have something more important to do. Mr. Crawford. Tom said from the bed. James turned. Call me James. James, Tom repeated, testing the name. I do not know how to thank you properly. Words feel too small. Then don't thank me with words, James said. Thank me by getting better. Thank me by being a good father to Lucy. Thank me by showing up to work and doing your best. That is all the thanks I need. A nurse came in with a tray of food. Nothing fancy. Just broth, crackers, and juice. But to Tom, it looked like a feast. The nurse helped him sit up and arrange the tray carefully. Small sips, she instructed. Slowly. Tom picked up the spoon, with shaking hands. Lucy watched him anxiously. He brought the broth to his lips and sipped. His eyes closed. It is good, he said. It is so good. Lucy laughed, and the sound was pure joy. James felt his chest tighten again. This was what wealth was for. Not bigger houses or faster cars. This. Watching a man eat soup like it was the best meal of his life. Seeing a little girl smile because her father was going to be okay. Lucy, James said. Have you eaten today? She shook her head. Not since lunch at school. Then we need to fix that, James said. Come on. Let's go to the cafeteria and get you some dinner. Your dad needs to rest anyway. Tom looked worried. I hate to let her out of my sight. I will take care of her, James promised. You have my word. Tom studied James's face for a long moment, then nodded. Okay. Lucy, go eat. Be good. I will, Daddy, Lucy said. She kissed his cheek and climbed down from the bed. In the cafeteria, James bought Lucy a hot meal and a slice of chocolate cake. They sat at a table by the window. Lucy ate slowly at first, then faster as her hunger caught up with her. "Lucy," James said, "you are a very brave girl. What you did today, standing in that rain, not giving up, that took real courage." Lucy looked up from her plate. "I was scared." "Being brave does not mean you are not scared," James said. "It means you do what needs to be done even when you are scared. That is the hardest kind brave." "My daddy is brave too," Lucy said. "He tried so hard to find work. He went out every day even when his back hurt. He gave me all his food. He never gave up on taking care of me." "Your daddy is very brave," James agreed. "And very lucky to have you." They ate in comfortable silence for a while. James watched other families in the cafeteria, rushing through meals between visiting hours. He thought about all the people in this hospital right now who were facing struggles just like Tom's. People who needed help but did not know where to find it. People who were too proud to ask. People the system had failed. One man, he could help. But what about the others? An idea started forming in his mind. Something bigger than just giving Tom a job. Something that could make a real difference. But that was for later. Right now, he had a little girl who needed dessert and a father upstairs who needed to know his daughter was safe. Ready to go back up? James asked when Lucy finished her cake. She nodded. "Thank you for dinner. And thank you for helping my daddy. You are a good person." James smiled. "You know what, Lucy? Today, because of you, I think I finally am." They took the elevator back to the 3rd floor. Tom was sleeping when they returned, the fall still dripping steadily into his arm. Lucy settled back into her chair, content to watch her father breathe peacefully. James pulled out his phone and sent another text to his assistant. "Tomorrow morning, set up a meeting with our HR department. We need to talk about expanding our hiring practices. I have some ideas." Outside, the stars were coming out. Inside, a father and daughter were finally safe. And somewhere in between, a millionaire businessman was remembering what it felt like to be truly human. Tom Bennett spent 2.5 days in the hospital. During that time, James Crawford visited 3 times. He brought Lucy new clothes from Target. Nothing fancy, but clean and warm and in her right size. He arranged for a temporary apartment through a contact who managed rental properties. He even went back to their old place with Tom's permission and packed up their few belongings. On the morning Tom was released, James arrived early with breakfast sandwiches and coffee. Tom looked better. His face had color again. His eyes were clear. He could stand without wobbling. "Ready to see your new place?" James asked. Lucy bounced on her toes. "We get to see it today." "Right after we get your dad checked out," James confirmed. The apartment was in a neighborhood called Riverside, about 20 minutes from downtown Nashville. It was not wealthy, but it was safe. Kids played in the yards. People walked their dogs. Flowers grew in window boxes. James pulled up to a small brick building with 6 units. He led them to apartment 2B on the 2nd floor. When he opened the door, Lucy gasped. It was not big. Just 2 bedrooms, a living room, a kitchen, and a bathroom. But it was clean. The walls were freshly painted white. The carpet was new. Furniture filled the rooms, a couch, a table with chairs, beds in both bedrooms, even a television. "This is too much," Tom said, his voice tight. "James, I cannot accept this." "You are not accepting it," James replied. "You are renting it. The company has several properties we use for employees who relocate. This one has been empty for 2 months. You will pay rent through payroll deduction. Completely normal arrangement." Tom looked skeptical. "How much is the rent?" James named a figure that was shockingly low for Nashville. Tom opened his mouth to protest, but James held up a hand. "That is the subsidized employee rate. Same as I give to all my workers who need it. You want to argue about it, you can argue with HR." Lucy ran through the apartment, checking every room. "Daddy, I have my own room, with a real bed." Tom's resolve crumbled. "Okay," he said quietly. "Okay, thank you." "Thank me by showing up to work on time," James said, handing Tom a key. "Speaking of which, you start Monday. That gives you 4 days to rest and get settled." I will pick you up at 7 in the morning. We are going to ease you in slowly. No rushing. Over the next 3 days, Tom and Lucy made the apartment into a home. Neighbors stopped by to introduce themselves. Mrs. Chen from downstairs brought over a pot of soup. Mr. and Mrs. Rodriguez from across the hall had a daughter Lucy's age named Sophie. The two girls became instant friends. Tom spent his time resting, eating regular meals, and watching his daughter play. Every time he looked around the clean apartment with food in the refrigerator, he felt overwhelmed. This did not feel real. Things like this did not happen to people like him. But it was real. And it was happening. On Monday morning, James arrived exactly at 7. Tom was ready, dressed in the new work clothes James had provided, jeans, work boots, and a polo shirt with the Crawford Construction logo. Nervous? James asked as they drove. Terrified, Tom admitted. What if I mess up? What if I am not good enough? Then we will train you until you are, James said simply. I am not looking for perfection, Tom. I am looking for effort. Show up, do your best, ask questions when you do not know something. That is all I need. Crawford Construction was located in an industrial area south of downtown. The main office was a large metal building surrounded by equipment yards and parking lots. James led Tom inside to a bustling workspace filled with desks, filing cabinets, and walls covered in blueprints. Everyone, James called out, and the room quieted. This is Tom Bennett. He is joining us as Assistant Site Coordinator. Tom, this is everyone. Yeah, baby girl, he said. I think we are. And for the first time in longer than he could remember, Tom Bennett believed his own words. They were not just surviving anymore. They were actually living. And it felt like the most precious gift in the world. 3 months into his job at Crawford Construction, Tom Bennett noticed a pattern. Every Monday morning, a man named Brian Mitchell would arrive late, looking exhausted. His work clothes were wrinkled. His lunch was usually just a gas station sandwich. And sometimes, when Brian thought no one was looking, his hands would shake like he was trying to hold something together that was falling apart. Tom recognized those signs. He had lived them. One Tuesday, Tom found Brian sitting alone in his truck during lunch break. The other guys were at the taco truck, but Brian stayed behind. Tom walked over and knocked on the window. Brian rolled it down. Yeah. You okay? Tom asked directly. Fine, Brian said. But his voice said otherwise. Tom leaned against the truck. You know, couple months ago, I was not fine. I was about as far from fine as a person can get. Had not eaten in days. Was about to lose everything that mattered. Then someone decided to help me when they did not have to. Brian was quiet, but he was listening. I am not trying to get in your business, Tom continued. But if you need someone to talk to, I am here. No judgment. Just one guy who has been there. Brian stared at his steering wheel for a long moment. Then, quietly, he started talking. My wife left 3 months ago. Took our son. She is staying with her sister in Memphis. She says she will come back when I get my act together, but I do not even know what that means anymore. You struggling to pay bills? Tom asked gently. Car payment is 2 months behind. Got an eviction notice yesterday. Been picking up extra shifts, but it is not enough. Tom thought about his own recent past. How alone he felt. How pride kept him from asking for help until it was almost too late. Have you talked to James about this? Brian shook his head. He gave me this job 6 months ago. I cannot go crying to him about my problems. He will think I am unreliable. Oh, Tom said. He will help you. That is what he does. But you have to give him the chance. Brian looked skeptical. Tom understood. Asking for help felt like admitting defeat. Listen, Tom said. I'm going to tell you something that maybe you will not believe. When James found out about my situation, he did not hesitate for 1 second to help. He did not make me feel small or ashamed. He just said, here is what we are going to do to fix this. And he did. I heard something about that, Brian admitted. People talk. They say James pulled you and your kid out of bad circumstances. He did, Tom confirmed. And not because he wanted something from me. Just because he could. So trust me when I say, talk to him. Let him help you figure this out. 2 days later, Brian went to James's office. Tom did not know what they talked about, but when Brian came out, his face looked different. Lighter somehow. Over the next few weeks, Tom watched Brian's situation improve. The company helped restructure his debt. They connected him with a financial counselor. They gave him a small bonus for the overtime he had been working. James even called Brian's wife personally and convinced her to come back for a trial weekend. It worked, Brian told Tom one morning, his voice filled with wonder. She came home. We talked. Really talked. She is willing to try again. That is great, man, Tom said, genuinely happy for him. I would not have asked for help if you had not pushed me, Brian said. I was too proud. Or too scared. Both, maybe. So thank you. Pass it on, Tom replied. That is all I ask. When you see someone struggling, do not look away. Do something. The culture at Crawford Construction began to shift subtly. Workers looked out for each other more intentionally. When someone was struggling, others stepped in. It was not organized or formal. It just started happening organically. Angela from accounting noticed that a new hire named Jennifer always packed crackers for lunch. Angela started inviting Jennifer to share her homemade meals. Eventually, Jennifer opened up about her food budget being tight while she paid off medical bills. Angela connected her with the same food bank where Tom and Lucy volunteered. Marcus from the equipment yard realized that one of his crew members, Tony, was walking 2 miles to work because his car broke down. Marcus started giving Tony rides and helped him find a cheap mechanic who did honest work. Small kindnesses multiplied across the company, and they traced back to one simple truth. Someone had cared enough to help Tom when he needed it, and Tom cared enough to pay it forward. At home, Lucy was creating her own ripples of kindness. She and Sophie Rodriguez started a program at school called Lunch Buddies. They noticed that some kids always sat alone in the cafeteria, so they made it their mission to sit with a different lonely kid each day. Mrs. Peterson, Lucy's teacher, was so impressed that she helped the girls expand the program. Soon, dozens of students were participating. The cafeteria went from having isolated clusters to feeling like a real community. I am so proud of you, Tom told Lucy one evening as she told him about a shy girl named Hannah who smiled for the first time all year because someone sat with her. It is not hard to be nice, Daddy, Lucy said. I do not know why more people do not do it. Tom thought about that. Why did not more people do it? Was it fear, selfishness, or just being too caught up in their own problems to notice others? He decided it did not matter why. What mattered was showing people that kindness was possible, that it worked, that it changed lives. One Saturday morning at the food bank, Tom was loading boxes into a van when an older woman approached him. Her name was Gloria, and she had been coming to the food bank for 3 months. You are Tom, right? She asked. Yes, I wanted to tell you something, Gloria said. First time I came here, I was so ashamed. I worked my whole life, raised 4 kids. Never thought I would need a handout. But then my husband died, and medical bills took everything. I almost did not come in. What changed your mind? Tom asked. You, Gloria said. You were at the door that day. You smiled at me like I was a person, not a problem. You helped me carry my box to my car. You asked about my day. You treated me with dignity. That mattered more than the food. Tom felt his throat tighten. I know what it feels like to need help, he said. Nobody should feel ashamed of that. Well, I got good news, Gloria said, her eyes bright. I got a job. Part-time at the library. It is not much, but it is enough. I do not need the food bank anymore. But I wanted to come tell you thank you before I stop coming. You helped me remember I still had value, that I could get back up. Tom hugged her, not caring if it was appropriate. That is wonderful, Gloria. I am so happy for you. And I am going to do what you do, she said. I am going to volunteer here on my days off. Help other people the way you helped me. Keep the circle going. After Gloria left, Tom stood in the parking lot feeling overwhelmed. He was just one man. He had not done anything spectacular. He just tried to treat people with kindness. Yet somehow, that simple act was spreading outward, touching more lives than he could count. Later that afternoon, James Crawford stopped by the food bank. He often did that, showing up at the places where his employees volunteered. He believed in supporting what they cared about. "Tom," James said, pulling him aside. "Can we talk for a minute?" "Sure," Tom said, suddenly nervous. He still was not completely comfortable around James, even though the man had literally saved his life. "Kyle is retiring next month," James said. "He has been thinking about it for a while. His wife wants to travel. He is ready to step back." Tom nodded, wondering where this was going. "I want you to take over as head site coordinator," James said. "It is a promotion. More responsibility. Better pay. Kyle says you are ready." "I agree." Tom stared at him. "But I have only been there 3 months. 3 months where you have shown up every day, worked harder than anyone else, learned everything Kyle could teach you, and somehow made the entire team work better together," James said. "That is worth more than years of just showing up. What do you say?" "Yes," Tom said without hesitation. Then he laughed. "I mean, yes, thank you. I will not let you down." "I know you will not," James said. "Because that is who you are. You take what you are given and you make it count." Tom thought about how far he had come since that rainy day when Lucy stood outside Betty's diner begging for food. He thought about sleeping on a mattress on the floor, believing he had failed his daughter, ready to give up. Now he had a home, a good job, a promotion, and most importantly, hope. He had learned that hitting rock bottom did not mean staying there. He had learned that accepting help was not weakness. He had learned that kindness, when given and received freely, could transform everything. "I will not just make it count," Tom told James. "I will pay it forward, every chance I get." "I know," James said. "That is why I am promoting you." That evening, Tom took Lucy out for pizza to celebrate. They sat in a booth at their favorite local place, and Tom told her about the promotion. "That is amazing, Daddy," Lucy said, her face glowing. "You did it." "We did it," Tom corrected. "You are the one who had the courage to ask for help that day. You saved us, baby girl. Never forget that." Lucy smiled. "I will not forget. And I will not forget what we learned, either. That people need each other. That being kind matters. That we should help when we can." "That is exactly right," Tom said. They ate their pizza and talked about the future. For the first time in years, the future looked bright, full of possibility, full of hope. And all because one little girl had the courage to ask for help, and one man had the compassion to give it. The ripples were still spreading outward, touching more lives every day. And they showed no signs of stopping. By the start of 6th grade, Lucy Bennett had grown into a confident 11-year-old with her father's gray eyes and her own fierce sense of justice. She wore her brown hair in a ponytail most days and favored bright blue jeans and red sweaters. She was not the loudest kid in her class, but when she spoke, people listened. Mrs. Deborah Peterson had been teaching 5th and 6th grade for 22 years. She had seen countless students come and go. But Lucy Bennett was different. There was a depth to her that most children her age did not possess. Mrs. Peterson learned why when Lucy wrote an essay titled "The Day Everything Changed." The essay told the story of standing in the rain, begging for food, watching her father nearly die. It described the kindness of strangers and the power of second chances. It was raw, honest, and beautifully written for a child her age. "Lucy," Mrs. Peterson said after class one day, "can we talk about your essay?" Lucy nodded, sitting down at a desk near the front. "This really happened to you?" Mrs. Peterson asked gently. "Yes, 2 years ago." "And you are okay now?" "We are more than okay," Lucy said. "We have a home. My dad has a good job. We help at the food bank every Saturday. But I remember what it was like to be hungry, to feel invisible. I do not want other kids to feel that way." Mrs. Peterson felt her heart squeeze. "That is very mature of you." "Mrs. Peterson," Lucy said slowly, choosing her words carefully. "Do you think other kids at our school go hungry sometimes?" The teacher thought about the free lunch program, about the kids who always took extra milk cartons. About the ones who stuffed napkins full of crackers to take home. Yes, she said honestly. I think some of them do. Then we should do something about it, Lucy said simply. Over the next few weeks, Lucy developed a plan with Mrs. Peterson's help. They called it the Weekend Backpack Program. The idea was to send kids home on Fridays with backpacks full of food to last them through the weekend. Easy meals that did not require much cooking. Peanut butter and crackers, fruit cups, granola bars, mac and cheese. They presented the idea to Principal Davis, a tall woman with gray hair and a practical manner. She loved it immediately. The challenge will be identifying which kids need it without making them feel singled out, Principal Davis said. What if we make it a program that any student can join? Lucy suggested. We can say it is about learning food security and helping families. Some kids who need it will sign up. Some kids who do not need it will sign up too. But that is okay. The important thing is nobody feels embarrassed. Principal Davis looked at Mrs. Peterson. How old is this child again? 11, Mrs. Peterson said with pride. But wise beyond her years. The program launched with funding from the school's discretionary budget and donations from local businesses. Tom helped Lucy write letters to grocery stores and restaurants asking for support. James Crawford wrote a check that covered 3 months of supplies. Within 2 weeks, 40 students had signed up for the program. Every Friday afternoon, volunteers packed 40 backpacks with food. Students picked them up discreetly from a table near the gym, just like checking out a library book. The impact was immediate. Teachers noticed certain students seemed more alert on Mondays. Attendance improved slightly. Kids who had been withdrawn started participating more in class. One Monday morning, a boy named Ethan approached Lucy at her locker. Ethan was thin, quiet, and usually kept to himself. Lucy knew he was one of the kids who needed the program. Hey, Ethan said, looking at his shoes. I just wanted to say thanks. For the backpack thing. My mom works 2 jobs and sometimes there is not much food around on weekends. This helps a lot. Lucy smiled at him. I am glad it helps. You do not have to thank me, though. We are just sharing resources. That is what communities do. Still, Ethan said. It was nice of you to think of it. Most kids would not notice other people's problems. I notice because I have been there, Lucy told him. 2 years ago, I did not know where my next meal was coming from. I know what it feels like. So I wanted to help. Ethan looked at her with new respect. Really? You went through that? Really? It was the hardest time of my life. But we got through it because people helped us. Now we help other people. That is how it works. After Ethan walked away, Sophie Rodriguez appeared at Lucy's side. You are pretty cool, you know that. Lucy laughed. I am just doing what feels right. Most people do not do what feels right, Sophie said. They do what is easy. You are different. The backpack program grew. By Christmas, 75 students were enrolled. Local churches started donating. The school district took notice and began discussing expanding the program to other schools. Lucy was interviewed by the local news. She stood on the school steps in her red sweater, her father beside her, and talked about hunger and kindness and community. She did not mention her own story. She just talked about how everyone deserved to eat and how small actions could make big differences. The story aired on the evening news. James Crawford watched it from his home and smiled. That little girl who begged in the rain had become a force for change. Tom Bennett had raised her right. But the backpack program was not Lucy's only project. She also noticed something else at school, kids eating lunch alone. Not just a few kids. Dozens of them. They would take their trays and find corners of the cafeteria where they could eat quickly without being noticed. Lucy remembered feeling alone like that when they were homeless. She remembered thinking nobody cared if she existed. She refused to let other kids feel that way. She talked to Sophie, and together they came up with the Lunch Buddies program. The concept was simple. Every day, they would sit with a different student who usually ate alone. They would talk to them, learn about them, make them feel seen. Other students noticed and joined in. Within a month, 20 kids were participating as lunch buddies. The cafeteria went from having obvious outsiders to feeling more inclusive. Kids who used to eat alone were suddenly part of conversations. They smiled more. They engaged more. A boy named Carlos, who had been silent all year, started talking in class because he felt less invisible. A girl named Amber, who transferred from another school mid-year, found friends. A student named Jordan, who dealt with anxiety, told his counselor that lunch was no longer his most dreaded part of the day. Mrs. Peterson watched all of this unfold with amazement. She had been teaching long enough to recognize something special. Lucy was not just smart. She was not just kind. She had the rare ability to see what needed to be done and then actually do it. One afternoon, Mrs. Peterson asked Lucy to stay after class. "I wanted to tell you something," the teacher said. "In all my years of teaching, I have never seen a student make this much positive impact on their community. You are changing lives, Lucy. Do you understand that?" Lucy thought about it. "I do not feel like I am doing anything special. I am just trying to help." "That is what makes it special," Mrs. Peterson replied. "Most people see problems and think someone else should fix them. You see problems and fix them yourself. That is leadership." "My dad taught me that," Lucy said. "He always says we have to take care of each other. That is what makes us human." Mrs. Peterson smiled. "Your father is a wise man." At home that evening, Tom was preparing dinner when Lucy burst through the door. "Daddy, guess what?" "What, baby girl?" "Mrs. Peterson says I am showing leadership, and Principal Davis wants to nominate me for the county's Young Citizen Award. Can you believe it?" Tom put down the spatula and hugged his daughter. "I can absolutely believe it. You are an amazing person, Lucy. You always have been." "It is because of you," Lucy said. "You taught me to care about people. You showed me what it means to struggle and to keep going. Everything I do comes from watching you." Tom felt tears threatening. "We learned together," he said. "We went through the hard times together, and we came out stronger. Now we get to use what we learned to help others. That is a gift, sweetheart. Not everyone gets that." They ate dinner together, talking about the nomination and the awards ceremony. Later, as Tom tucked Lucy into bed even though she insisted she was too old for tucking in, he thought about how much life had changed. 2 years ago, he was lying on a mattress on the floor, starving, convinced he had failed his daughter. Now his daughter was receiving awards for changing lives. She had taken the worst experience of her young life and transformed it into compassion for others. He had not failed her. He had raised a hero. "Daddy," Lucy said in the darkness. "Do you ever think about that day? The rainy day when Mr. Crawford helped us?" "All the time," Tom admitted. "Do you think things happen for a reason?" Tom thought about that. "I do not know if they happen for a reason, but I know we can make meaning from them. We can take bad things and turn them into good things. That is what we did. That is what you are doing every day." "I want to keep doing it," Lucy said. "When I grow up, I want to help people. Maybe run programs like the food bank, or work with families who are struggling. I want to make sure nobody feels as alone as we felt." "You are going to do amazing things," Tom said. "I have no doubt." "We are going to do amazing things," Lucy corrected. "Together. Like always." Tom kissed her forehead. "Like always." He left her room and went to sit on the couch in the living room. The apartment was quiet, safe, full of light and warmth. A far cry from that terrible place on 5th Street. His phone buzzed with a text from James, "Saw Lucy on the news. That kid is something special. You should be proud." Tom typed back, "I am. Thank you for giving us the chance to become this." James replied, "You did the hard work. I just opened the door. You and Lucy walked through it and made something beautiful." Tom looked around the apartment, at the photos on the wall showing him and Lucy at the food bank, at the park, at Lucy's school events, at the stability they had built, at the life they had created from nothing. He thought about all the people Lucy was helping, all the kids who would not go hungry on weekends, all the lonely students who now had friends, all the future lives she would touch as she grew into the remarkable woman she was becoming. And he thought about the ripple effect of kindness. How James helping them had led to Tom helping Brian, which led to a culture shift at Crawford Construction, which led to Lucy starting programs at school, which led to dozens of kids being fed and included. One act of kindness on a rainy day had created an ever-expanding circle of compassion that showed no signs of stopping. Tom closed his eyes and said a prayer of gratitude. For James. For second chances. For his daughter. For the reminder that even in the darkest moments, hope could survive. And that hope, when nurtured and shared, could change the world. Tom Bennett arrived at Crawford Construction at 6:30 in the morning, half an hour before his required start time. He had been doing this for over a year now, and it had become his favorite part of the day. The quiet building, the fresh coffee brewing, the sense of purpose before the chaos of the workday began. As head site coordinator, Tom managed 15 construction projects across Nashville and the surrounding areas. He oversaw schedules, materials, budgets, and most importantly, people. It was demanding work, but he loved every minute of it. Kyle Harrison, now retired and living in an RV traveling the country, sent him text messages from various national parks. "You are doing great, kid. Better than I ever did. Keep it up." Tom appreciated the encouragement, but he knew he had something Kyle did not have: recent memory of rock bottom. That memory kept him humble. It kept him compassionate. It kept him aware that every person on his crew was human first, worker second. On this particular morning, Tom was reviewing applications for a new position. Crawford Construction was expanding again, and they needed another assistant coordinator. Tom had pushed for this position, arguing that they could train someone who might not have traditional qualifications but had heart and hustle. James approved the request immediately. He trusted Tom's judgment. Tom flipped through resumes, setting aside the ones with engineering degrees and perfect work histories. He was looking for something different. Someone who needed a chance. He found it in an application from Marcus Phillips. Age 42. High school education. 10 years of construction experience, then a 3-year gap. Brief explanation. Was incarcerated. Paid my debt to society. Ready to work. Tom called Marcus that afternoon and set up an interview for the next day. Marcus arrived early, dressed in clothes that were clean but clearly his best. His hands were rough from work, his eyes wary. Tom recognized that wariness. It was the look of someone who had been rejected too many times. "Marcus," Tom said, shaking his hand. "Thanks for coming in. Have a seat." Marcus sat stiffly in the chair across from Tom's desk. "I appreciate you seeing me. I know the background check will show my record. I have applied to 43 places in the past month. 43 rejections. So I understand if this is just a courtesy interview." "It is not a courtesy interview," Tom said. "It is a real interview. Tell me about your construction experience." Marcus relaxed slightly and talked about his 10 years in the industry. He knew his stuff. He understood the work from the ground up. He could read blueprints, manage crews, solve problems on the fly. "Why the 3-year gap?" Tom asked, even though he knew. "I made bad choices," Marcus said honestly. "Got caught up with the wrong people, made decisions I am not proud of. I served my time. I took classes while I was inside: electrical, business management, conflict resolution. I am not that person anymore." "What kind of person are you now?" Marcus met Tom's eyes directly. "A person who wants to work. A person who wants to support his daughter. A person who wants to prove he can be more than his worst mistakes." Tom nodded. "You have a daughter?" "Yes, sir. She is 16. Lives with her mother. I have not been much of a father to her. That is my biggest regret. I want to change that, but I cannot do it without a job. Cannot pay child support without income. Cannot show her I am reliable if nobody will hire me." Tom made his decision. "The job is yours if you want it. You start Monday. We pay 15% above industry standard. Benefits start after 90 days. I will be your direct supervisor. I have high expectations, but I am also fair. Show up on time, work hard, be honest with me, and we will get along fine." Marcus stared at him. "Just like that?" "Just like that," Tom confirmed. "You do not want to think about it? Check more references? Run the background check first." "I will run the background check because I have to," Tom said. "But I already know what it will say, and I do not care. I care about who you are now, not who you were 3 years ago. I care about your work ethic and your character. And from this conversation, both seemed solid to me. Marcus's eyes filled with tears. Sir, I do not know what to say. Say yes, Tom replied. Yes, Marcus said, his voice breaking. Yes, thank you. I will not let you down. I swear. I know you will not, Tom said. Because I am betting on you the same way someone once bet on me. Now you are going to pay it forward by being the best worker you can be, and by helping the next person who needs a chance. After Marcus left, James appeared in Tom's doorway. I saw your new hire. You are sure about him? Completely sure, Tom said. Good, James said. I trust your judgment. You have not steered me wrong yet. Over the following months, Marcus proved Tom's faith in him was well placed. He arrived early, worked hard, and treated everyone with respect. He was detail-oriented and took initiative. Within 6 months, Tom gave him more responsibilities. Within a year, Marcus was training new hires. But Tom's impact extended beyond hiring decisions. He had fundamentally changed how Crawford Construction approached personnel management. He instituted a policy that any employee struggling with bills could speak to HR confidentially about hardship assistance. The company would not loan money, but they would connect workers with resources, adjust schedules if needed, and provide advances on paychecks without penalties. He created a mentorship program where experienced workers were paired with new hires, not just for job training, but for life training. How to budget, how to save, how to plan for the future. He pushed for better benefits, including mental health services and childcare subsidies. James approved every proposal Tom brought forward. The company culture shifted. Workers felt valued, not just as labor units, but as human beings. Productivity increased. Turnover decreased. Quality improved. And stories of compassion multiplied. One winter afternoon, Tom received a call from a foreman at a site in East Nashville. Tom, we have a situation. One of the day laborers just got word that his apartment building caught fire. He is freaking out, trying to figure out where his family is going to stay tonight. What is his name? Tom asked. Hector Ramirez. Good worker. Been with us about 6 months. Tell him to go to his family. Make sure they are safe. Then tell him to call me. 2 hours later, Hector called. His voice was shaking. Mr. Bennett? They said to call you. But I do not want to bother you with my problems. Hector, are your wife and kids okay? Yes, they got out safe. But everything we own is gone. All our clothes, furniture, everything. My wife is crying. My kids are scared. I do not know what to do. First, take a breath, Tom said calmly. Now, where are you right now? At my wife's friend's house. She is letting us stay tonight, but she does not have room for us long term. Okay. I am going to make some calls. Give me 2 hours. Do not panic. We will figure this out. Tom called James first. Then he called the property manager who handled their employee housing. Then he called a furniture donation charity that Lucy volunteered with. Within 90 minutes, he had secured a temporary apartment, arranged for donated furniture, and organized a collection among company employees for clothes and supplies. He called Hector back. You have a place to stay. Apartment on Riverside, near where I live. Fully furnished. First month free while you get back on your feet. After that, subsidized rent through the employee housing program. Several co-workers are collecting clothes and supplies for your kids. You can pick them up tomorrow at the office. Hector started crying. I cannot believe this. Why would you do this for me? Because I have been there, Tom said. Because I know what it feels like to lose everything. Because we take care of each other here. That is what we do. Word of Tom's response to Hector's crisis spread through the company. It became legend. The boss who did not just talk about caring for employees, but actually did it. At home, Tom remained the same steady father he had always been. He cooked dinner with Lucy most evenings. They still volunteered at the food bank every Saturday. They still talked about everything and nothing. One evening, Lucy asked him about his promotion rumors. Sophie's dad said you might become a vice president. Is that true? Tom stirred the pasta sauce. James mentioned it. The role would be vice president of operations. More money, more responsibility, bigger office. Are you going to take it? I do not know yet, Tom admitted. It would mean less time in the field, more time in meetings. I would be making decisions about the whole company, not just coordinating projects. What does your gut say? Tom smiled at his daughter's wisdom. My gut says I could do a lot of good in that position. I could implement programs company-wide. I could hire more people who need second chances. I could make Crawford Construction a model for how businesses should treat workers. Then you should do it, Lucy said simply. What if I fail? Then you fail trying to do something good, Lucy said. That is better than not trying at all. Tom pulled her into a hug. When did you get so smart? I learned from my dad, she replied. The next week, Tom accepted the position. James held a company-wide meeting to announce it, and the applause was genuine and loud. Tom stood in front of 100 co-workers and felt overwhelmed. I did not always work here, Tom said when the applause died down. 2 years ago, I was unemployed, homeless, and starving. My daughter had to beg strangers for food. I had given up. Then James Crawford gave me a chance. He did not just give me a job. He gave me back my dignity. He showed me that one person's kindness can change everything. The room was silent, listening. Now I get to pay that forward, Tom continued. As VP of Operations, my priority is simple. Treat every person in this company like they matter. Because they do. Every single one of you matters. Your families matter. Your struggles matter. Your dreams matter. And I am going to do everything in my power to help you succeed. The applause this time was deafening. Tom saw Marcus Phillips in the back, tears streaming down his face. He saw Angela from accounting nodding vigorously. He saw workers he had hired, mentored, supported. He saw a community built on compassion. After the meeting, James pulled Tom aside. Great speech. You meant every word of it. Of course I did. That is why you are perfect for this job, James said. You have not forgotten where you came from. You will not forget. And that makes you the kind of leader people will follow anywhere. Tom thought about how far he had come. From a mattress on the floor to vice president of a major company. From giving up to giving back. From believing he had nothing to offer to knowing he had everything that mattered. That evening, he took Lucy to dinner at a nice restaurant to celebrate. They sat by the window, watching people walk past on the Nashville streets. Daddy, Lucy said, do you ever wish things had been different? That we had not gone through all that hard stuff? Tom thought carefully before answering. If we had not gone through it, we would not be who we are now. You would not be starting programs at school. I would not be helping people at work. We learned something important in those hard times. We learned how to see suffering and do something about it. That is a gift, even if it came wrapped in pain. I am glad we help people, Lucy said. It makes me happy. Me too, baby girl. Me too. They finished their meal and walked home through the cool evening air. The city glowed with lights. People filled the sidewalks, going about their lives. Somewhere in this city, Tom knew, someone was struggling. Someone was hungry. Someone was afraid. But somewhere too, someone was helping. Someone was showing kindness. Someone was proving that humanity was worth believing in. Tom and Lucy were part of that chain of compassion. They had been pulled from darkness into light, and now they spent their days pulling others along with them. It was not fancy work. It was not famous work. But it was the most important work in the world. And Tom Bennett, former homeless day laborer, now vice president of operations, intended to keep doing it for the rest of his life. The story of Tom and Lucy Bennett had spread far beyond Crawford Construction and Lucy's school. Local news had followed up on Lucy's programs. The Nashville Tribune ran a feature article. Social media posts about the backpack program went viral. People were inspired by this father and daughter who turned their tragedy into triumph and then used that triumph to help others. But Tom and Lucy did not pay much attention to the publicity. They were too busy living their lives and continuing their work. Tom focused on implementing new worker support programs at Crawford Construction. Lucy expanded the Lunch Buddies program and was working with other schools to adopt similar initiatives. Then, on a Tuesday afternoon in late April, something unexpected happened. Reverend Michaels from Riverside Community Church called Tom at work. Tom, I need to talk to you about something. Can you stop by the church after work today? Tom agreed, curious. He had become friends with Reverend Michaels through their Saturday volunteering at the food bank, but the older man rarely called him during business hours. When Tom arrived at the church, he found not just Reverend Michaels, but a small group of community members: Gloria, the woman from the food bank who had thanked Tom months ago, Principal Davis from Luce's school, Pastor Sarah from East Nashville Community Center, and 3 people Tom did not recognize. Tom, thank you for coming, Reverend Michaels said. These folks and I have been talking. We want to do something for you and Lucy. Tom felt uncomfortable immediately. That is not necessary. We are happy to volunteer. We do not need recognition. This is not about recognition, Gloria said gently. This is about community taking care of its own. You and Lucy have given so much to this city. Now we want to give back to you. I do not understand, Tom said. Principal Davis spoke up. Tom, Lucy mentioned to Mrs. Peterson that you have been looking at houses. You want to buy a place, give Lucy more stability, maybe a yard. Eventually, Tom said. I have been saving, but Nashville housing is expensive. It will take me a few more years to afford a down payment. What if it did not take a few more years? Pastor Sarah asked. What if it took a few weeks? Tom looked around at their faces. What are you talking about? Reverend Michaels pulled out a folder. We are organizing a fundraiser for you and Lucy. We are calling it the Bennett Family Home Fund. We are reaching out to everyone you have helped, everyone Lucy's programs have touched, local businesses you have worked with, churches, schools, everyone. We are going to raise money to help you buy a house. No, Tom said immediately, standing up. No, I cannot accept that. That is too much. Why? Gloria asked. You accepted help when you needed it before. Why is this different? Because I am doing fine now, Tom said. I have a good job. We have a nice apartment. Other people need help more than we do. Tom, Reverend Michaels said firmly. Sit down and listen for a minute. Tom sat, feeling cornered. You are right that you are doing fine, the Reverend continued. But fine is not the same as thriving. Owning a home would give Lucy stability. It would build equity for your future. It would root you in a neighborhood. And more importantly, it would send a message to everyone watching your story that community support works. That when we help each other, everyone rises. Plus, Principal Davis added, we are not just doing this for you. We are doing it for Lucy. That child has changed our school. She has changed hundreds of lives. This is our way of saying thank you and showing her that kindness comes back around. Tom felt his resolve weakening. He thought about Lucy, about giving her a real home with a yard where she could play, about stability and permanence, about roots. How would this even work? He asked. Fundraiser events, Pastor Sarah explained. A benefit dinner, an online campaign, corporate sponsorships. We think between individual donations and business support, we could raise $20,000 to $30,000 in the next month. Combined with your savings, that should be enough for a solid down payment on a modest house in a good neighborhood. One of the people Tom did not recognize spoke up. I am Maria Chen. I own Chen Properties, a real estate company here in Nashville. I have been following your story. I would like to donate my services. I will help you find a house, handle all the paperwork, and waive my commission. Consider it my contribution. The second stranger introduced himself. I am Robert Hayes. I run Hayes Home Inspection. I will inspect whatever house you choose for free. Make sure you are getting something solid. The third stranger smiled. And I am Patricia Walsh. I work for First Community Bank. We would like to offer you a favorable mortgage rate and reduced closing costs. You have incredible community support. That makes you a good risk. Tom felt overwhelmed. All these people, most of whom he had never met, wanted to help him. Strangers were offering their time, their expertise, their money. It was too much. It was wonderful. It was terrifying. I need to talk to Lucy about this, Tom said finally. I need to make sure she is comfortable with it. We do not like being the center of attention. We understand, Reverend Michaels said. But Tom, you need to understand something too. This is not about attention. This is about community. About showing that we take care of our own. About proving that the kindness you and Lucy have been spreading creates real, tangible results. Let people help you. That is part of the cycle too. Tom drove home in a daze. He picked up Lucy from Sophie's house where she had been doing homework, and they walked back to their apartment together. "Daddy, you are quiet," Lucy observed. "What is wrong?" "Nothing is wrong," Tom said. "Something just happened that I need to talk to you about." Inside, he made them hot chocolate and sat Lucy down at the kitchen table. He explained about the meeting at the church, about the fundraiser, about the offers of help. Lucy listened carefully, her gray eyes serious. "What do you think we should do?" "I do not know," Tom admitted. "Part of me feels like we should not accept it. We are doing okay. Other people need help more." "But another part of you wants to accept it," Lucy guessed. "Yeah. Because I want to give you a real home. Because I'm tired of renting. Because maybe, just maybe, it is okay to let people help us sometimes." Lucy was quiet for a moment, thinking. Then she said, "Remember what Mr. Crawford told you? That when you refuse help, you take away someone's chance to do something good." Tom nodded. "I remember." "Well, maybe that is what we would be doing if we said no," Lucy continued. "Maybe people want to do this. Maybe it makes them happy. Maybe it is not about us at all. Maybe it is about giving the community a chance to come together around something positive." Tom stared at his 11-year-old daughter. "How did you get so wise?" She grinned. "I have a really good dad." "So we say yes?" Tom asked. "We say yes," Lucy confirmed. "And then, when we have our house, we use it to help other people. We invite the lonely kids over. We host food bank volunteers for planning meetings. We make it a place that spreads more kindness. Deal?" "Deal," Tom said, pulling her into a hug. The next day, Tom called Reverend Michaels and told him they would accept the community's help. The fundraiser planning kicked into high gear. The benefit dinner was held 3 weeks later at the church fellowship hall. 200 people attended. Local restaurants donated food. A band played for free. Lucy's classmates put on a short performance about kindness. Tom and Lucy stood at the front of the room, overwhelmed by the support. People Tom had helped at work came. Families Lucy's programs had fed came. Teachers came. Neighbors came. Strangers who had just heard their story came. Marcus Phillips brought his daughter. "I wanted her to meet the man who gave her dad a second chance," he said. "I wanted her to see what it looks like when people care about each other." Brian Mitchell came with his wife and son. "You started a chain reaction, Tom. You helped me, so I helped someone else, who helped someone else. There are probably 50 people in this city who have better lives because you taught us to pay it forward." Gloria came with a group of other food bank clients who had since gotten back on their feet. "We wanted to give back to the people who helped us keep going," she said, handing Tom an envelope with donations from the group. James Crawford came, of course, with his wife Elizabeth, who Tom had met a few times. James made a speech about how Tom had transformed Crawford Construction and inspired an entire company to care more about people than profits. Mrs. Peterson came with several teachers from Lucy's school. They presented Lucy with the county's Young Citizen Award, which had been delayed from months earlier. Lucy accepted it with tears in her eyes. At the end of the evening, Reverend Michaels announced the total raised, $34,000. Combined with Tom's savings, he would have more than enough for a down payment and some left over for furniture and moving costs. Tom could not speak. He just stood there, holding Lucy's hand, looking at this room full of people who cared. People who had come together because one little girl refused to give up on her father 2 years ago. People who believed in second chances and community support. "Thank you," he finally managed to say. "Thank you all. Lucy and I will never forget this. And we promise to use our home to spread more kindness, more hope, more love. That is the only way we know how to say thank you properly." The crowd applauded. Lucy squeezed her father's hand. And somewhere in that room, another chain reaction of kindness was beginning, spreading outward in ways Tom and Lucy would never fully see. Over the next 2 weeks, Maria Chen took Tom and Lucy to look at houses. They saw 15 properties before finding the right one, a small 3-bedroom house in the Riverside neighborhood, walking distance from Luce's school. It had a yard with a big tree, a front porch, and an updated kitchen. The inspection came back clean. The bank approved the mortgage. 6 weeks after the fundraiser, Tom signed the papers, making him a homeowner for the first time in his life. Lucy had her own room, painted pale blue at her request. There was a guest room for visitors. The living room had space for a real dining table where they could host dinners. Moving day was a community event. Crawford Construction employees came to help move furniture. Luce's classmates helped paint her room. Neighbors brought over casseroles and cookies. By sunset, they were moved in. Tom stood on the front porch, watching kids play in the yards, seeing neighbors chat on their porches, feeling the warmth of community all around him. Lucy came out and stood beside him. "We did it, Daddy. We really did it." "We did," Tom agreed, "with a lot of help from a lot of amazing people." "That is how it is supposed to work," Lucy said. "Nobody makes it alone. We all need each other." Tom wrapped his arm around his daughter's shoulders. "You are absolutely right, baby girl. You are absolutely right." As darkness fell and stars appeared overhead, Tom felt a peace he had not felt in years. They had a home. Not just a building, but a real home in a real community where people cared about each other. And this was just the beginning. Tom had plans for programs he wanted to launch. Lucy had ideas for new ways to help kids at school. Together, they would keep spreading kindness, one act at a time. The little girl who begged for one spoon of food had grown into a community leader. The father who had nothing left had become a man with everything that mattered. And the millionaire who saw everything that rainy day had started a chain reaction of compassion that would continue for years to come, touching lives in ways none of them could ever fully measure. So, the first night in their new house felt like a dream. Lucy lay in her real bed, in her real room, looking up at the glow-in-the-dark stars she had stuck to the ceiling. Sophie's father had helped her put them up that afternoon, creating constellations they looked up together. Down the hall, Tom sat on his own bed, finally able to stretch out completely. The mattress was not new, but it was clean and comfortable, and most importantly, it was theirs. He owned this bed. He owned these walls. He owned this home. It still did not feel real. The next morning, Tom woke up early out of habit. He made coffee in the kitchen, standing at the counter and looking out the window at the backyard. The grass needed mowing. The fence needed a coat of paint. The tree needed trimming. But these were good problems to have. These were the problems of a homeowner, not a homeless man. Lucy appeared in the doorway wearing her pajamas, hair messy from sleep. "Morning, Daddy." "Morning, baby girl. How did you sleep?" "Amazing. I did not know a bed could be so comfortable." They ate breakfast together at their new kitchen table, another donation from a church member who was downsizing. Simple food, scrambled eggs and toast, but it tasted better somehow in their own home. The doorbell rang at 9. Tom opened it to find their neighbor from next door, a woman in her 50s with a warm smile. "Hi, I am Jennifer Martin. Wanted to come by and welcome you officially. Brought you some banana bread." She held out a wrapped loaf. "Homemade this morning." "Thank you," Tom said, taking the bread. "I am Tom. This is my daughter Lucy." "I know who you are," Jennifer said kindly. "Everybody in the neighborhood does. We are so glad you are here. If you need anything at all, we are right next door." Over the next week, more neighbors stopped by. The Rodriguez family from across the street brought over spare gardening tools. An elderly man named Mr. Peterson 2 houses down offered to show Tom how to maintain the yard. A young couple with a baby brought a casserole and offered babysitting help if Tom ever needed it. The neighborhood was not wealthy. Most people worked regular jobs and lived paycheck to paycheck. But there was a sense of community that Tom had not experienced before. People looked out for each other. They knew each other's names. They helped without being asked. Lucy started inviting classmates over after school. Their house became a gathering place for homework groups and art projects. Sophie practically lived there. Other kids from the Lunch Buddies program came over. Tom made sure there were always snacks available. Their home became a safe space for kids who needed one. On Saturday mornings, Tom and Lucy still volunteered at the food bank. But now they did it from a place of stability rather than desperation. Tom often brought extra donations from his own kitchen. Lucy recruited her friends to volunteer too. One Saturday, Gloria pulled Tom aside. "I need to tell you something. Remember I said I got that job at the library?" "Of course." "Well, I got promoted. I am the assistant director now. And I just signed a lease on my own apartment. First time I have lived alone since my husband died. Tom, a year ago I was getting food from this bank. Now I am donating to it. That is because of you. Because you treated me like I mattered when I thought I did not." Tom hugged her. "You always mattered, Gloria. I just helped you remember." At Crawford Construction, Tom continued to transform the company culture. As VP of Operations, he implemented a profit-sharing program so every worker benefited when the company did well. He created a scholarship fund for employees' children. He instituted paid parental leave and expanded mental health benefits. The company thrived. Workers stayed longer, worked harder, and took pride in being part of something bigger than just a business. Crawford Construction became known as the best employer in Nashville. Job applications flooded in. James Crawford watched all of this with quiet satisfaction. His gamble on Tom Bennett had paid off in ways he never imagined. Tom was not just a good employee. He was a leader who understood that business success and human compassion were not opposing forces, but complementary ones. One afternoon, James called Tom into his office. "Tom, I want to talk to you about something. Have a seat." Tom sat, still not completely comfortable in James's spacious office with its leather chairs and city views. "You have been here for almost 3 years now," James said. "In that time, you have transformed this company. Turnover is down 60%. Productivity is up 40%. Employee satisfaction is the highest it has ever been. You have turned Crawford Construction into a place people actually want to work." "I just treat people the way I wish I had been treated during my hard times," Tom said. "I know. That is why it works." James leaned forward. "Tom, I am 62 years old. I am thinking about succession planning. My daughter has no interest in construction. My son lives in California doing his own thing. I need someone to eventually take over this company who shares my values, who understands what we are building here. I want that person to be you." Tom stared at him. "James, I do not have a business degree. I do not have formal training in management or finance or—" "You have something better," James interrupted. "You have wisdom. You have compassion. You have the respect of every single person in this company. You understand that our workers are human beings, not just labor units. That is worth more than any degree." "I do not know what to say." "Do not say anything yet," James said. "This would not happen for several years. I am not retiring tomorrow. But I wanted you to know my thinking. I want you to start shadowing me on executive decisions. Learn that side of the business. Prepare yourself. What do you say?" Tom thought about it. About how far he had come. About the responsibility James was offering. About the opportunity to shape an entire company's culture around compassion and dignity. "Yes," he said finally. "Yes, I will start preparing. Thank you for believing in me." "Tom," James said seriously, "I stopped believing in you and started knowing you a long time ago. There is a difference." That evening, Tom told Lucy about the conversation over dinner. She was doing her homework at their kitchen table while he cooked. "That is amazing, Daddy. You could be CEO someday." "Maybe. That is years away still." "But think about all the good you could do," Lucy said, her eyes bright. "Think about all the people you could help." "That is exactly what I am thinking about," Tom admitted. They ate dinner and talked about their days. Lucy told him about a new student at school who seemed lonely. She was planning to sit with him at lunch Monday. Tom told her about a project manager who was struggling with childcare costs. He was working on a company daycare proposal to present to James. After dinner, they sat on the front porch together, watching the neighborhood settle in for the evening. Mr. Peterson was watering his garden. The young couple with the baby were taking a walk. Kids were riding bikes down the street. "Daddy," Lucy said, "sometimes I think about that day in the rain. When I was begging for food and nobody would help. Do you think about it?" All the time, Tom said honestly. Does it still make you sad? Tom thought carefully. It makes me sad that we went through it. But it makes me grateful for what came after. If that day had not happened, we would not be here now. We would not be the people we are. We would not be able to help others the way we do. I am glad Mr. Crawford stopped, Lucy said quietly. I am glad he did not walk past me like everyone else did. Me too, baby girl. Me too. They sat in comfortable silence as the sun set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Tom thought about gratitude, about second chances, about community, about how one act of kindness on a random rainy day had changed the course of 2 lives completely. He thought about the ripple effects still spreading outward. Marcus Phillips had just bought his own small house with help from Crawford Construction's employee housing program. Brian Mitchell had reconciled with his wife, and they were expecting their second child. Gloria was thriving at the library and volunteering regularly. Luce's programs had expanded to 5 schools across Nashville. All of it traced back to that moment when James Crawford chose to stop and help instead of walking past. All of it proved that kindness was not just nice, it was transformative. Luce, Tom said. You know what I think we should do? What? I think we should start our own foundation. Something that helps families in crisis. Something that gives people the same chance we got. Luce's face lit up. Really? Really? We are stable now. We have resources. We have a network of people who want to help. Why not organize it into something bigger? Something that lasts beyond just us. What would we call it? Tom smiled. What do you think about the Second Chances Foundation? I love it, Luce said. When do we start? Soon, Tom promised. Very soon. Inside the house, the phone rang. Tom went in to answer it. It was James. Tom, sorry to bother you at home. But I just got a call from the mayor's office. They are putting together a task force on poverty reduction. They want business leaders involved. I recommended you. You interested? Absolutely, Tom said without hesitation. Good. First meeting is next Tuesday at City Hall. I will send you the details. After hanging up, Tom stood in his kitchen, looking around at his home, thinking about the path that had led him here. From desperation to hope. From nothing to everything that mattered. From being helped to helping others. The journey was not over. In many ways, it was just beginning. But Tom was ready. He had learned the most important lessons life had to teach, that we need each other, that kindness matters, that second chances can change the world. He walked back outside to Lucy, who was now lying on the porch looking up at the stars beginning to appear in the darkening sky. You know what, Daddy, she said. I think we are pretty lucky. I think you are right, Tom agreed, lying down beside her. Not just lucky. Blessed. Definitely blessed. They lay there together, father and daughter, looking up at the stars, secure in their home, confident in their future, and committed to spreading the same kindness that had saved them to everyone they could reach. The little girl who begged for one spoon had grown into a young woman with a mission. The father who had nothing had become a man with purpose. And together, they were proving that love, hope, and kindness could triumph over any adversity. Their story was still being written. And the best chapters were yet to come. 3 years passed like pages turning in a good book. Lucy turned 14, grew 3 inches taller, and developed a confidence that made her seem older than her years. She became student body president at her school. Her weekend backpack program now operated in 12 Nashville schools, feeding hundreds of kids every week. The Lunch Buddies initiative had expanded to 23 schools across Tennessee, featured in national education magazines as a model for inclusive student culture. Tom, now 43, had indeed begun shadowing James Crawford on executive decisions. He sat in on board meetings, learned financial strategy, and helped shape the company's 5-year growth plan. Crawford Construction had doubled in size, employed over 300 people, and maintained its reputation as the most compassionate employer in the region. But Tom had not forgotten his promise to Lucy. He had not forgotten about the Second Chances Foundation. Working nights and weekends, Tom and James had quietly been laying groundwork. They created a non-profit organization. They filed paperwork. They recruited board members from the community, Reverend Michaels, Principal Davis, Maria Chen, the real estate agent, Marcus Phillips, and Gloria from the library. They established a mission to help families in crisis with housing, food, job training, and whatever support they needed to get back on their feet. They funded it initially with money from James and Tom, plus donations from Crawford Construction employees who gave through payroll deduction. But Tom wanted to do something bigger. He wanted a launch event that would raise awareness and funds, that would tell their story and inspire others to join the mission. So on a warm Saturday evening in September, 3 years almost to the day since James first helped them, the Second Chances Foundation held its inaugural gala at the Nashville Convention Center. 400 people bought tickets. Local businesses sponsored tables. The event was catered, elegant, but not too fancy. Tom insisted it remain accessible, not pretentious. The room was decorated in bright colors: red, blue, green, maroon. Lights hung from the ceiling. Round tables filled the space. A stage stood at the front with a podium and a large screen. Tom wore a suit, still uncomfortable in formal clothes, but trying his best. Lucy wore a blue dress she picked out herself, her brown hair swept up. James and Elizabeth sat at the head table with Reverend Michaels and the other board members. But the guests were what made the event special. Marcus Phillips was there with his daughter and ex-wife, who had remarried him the previous year. Brian Mitchell attended with his wife and 2 sons. Gloria came with her new boyfriend, a widower she met at the library. Angela, Kyle, and dozens of other Crawford Construction employees filled tables. Mrs. Peterson and Principal Davis represented Luce's school. Neighbors from Riverside came. Families Luce's programs had helped came. Strangers who had just heard the story and wanted to support the cause came. And in the back corner, quietly observing, sat 3 families who had been selected as the foundation's first recipients. They did not know yet that they were about to receive life-changing help. That surprise would come later in the evening. The event opened with dinner and networking. Tom worked the room, shaking hands, thanking people for coming, feeling simultaneously nervous and grateful. At 7:30, James took the stage. "Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. 3 years ago, I was standing on a rainy street in downtown Nashville, about to walk into a business meeting. Instead, insurance. They are drowning in medical debt and living in a weekly motel, spending most of their income just on a place to sleep." The 3 families stood there, clearly not understanding what was happening. Lucy smiled. "Tonight, the Second Chances Foundation is giving each of your families a fresh start. We are covering 6 months of rent in safe, clean apartments we have already secured. We are paying off your immediate debts. We are providing job placement services. We are giving you food assistance, childcare support, and access to financial counseling. And we are doing it with no strings attached except one: when you get back on your feet, you help someone else." The room erupted in applause. Mrs. Rodriguez collapsed into her husband's arms, sobbing. Ms. Taylor pulled her teenagers close. Mrs. Brooks held her baby while her husband stood there in shock, unable to process what was happening. Tom stepped forward. "This is just the beginning. These 3 families are our first, but they will not be our last. Every dollar donated tonight will go directly to helping more families like them. We are not here to judge anyone's circumstances. We are here to help them overcome those circumstances with dignity and support." James returned to the microphone. "Here is how you can help. You can donate online at our website. You can volunteer your time or professional services. If you own a business, you can partner with us to provide jobs or training. If you are a landlord, you can offer affordable housing. If you have resources, share them. If you have time, give it. If you have compassion, show it." He paused, looking out at the crowd. "But the most important thing you can do is this: stop walking past people who need help. See them. Acknowledge them. Do something, even something small. Because you never know when one spoon of kindness will save a life and change a community." The room stood in applause. Tom stood on the stage with Lucy on one side and the 3 families on the other, watching 400 people commit themselves to compassion. He saw Marcus crying openly. He saw Gloria beaming with pride. He saw Reverend Michaels nodding in satisfaction. He saw neighbors from Riverside, co-workers from Crawford Construction, strangers who had become friends, all united in the belief that people were worth helping. After the formal program ended, people lined up to donate, to sign up as volunteers, to offer services. By the end of the evening, the foundation had raised over $200,000. More importantly, they had created a movement. Tom found himself talking with Mr. Rodriguez, the father from the first family helped. "I do not understand," Mr. Rodriguez said through tears. "Why would you do this for us? You do not even know us." "Because someone did it for me when I needed it most," Tom said simply. "Because you matter. Because your kids deserve stability. Because this is what community means." "I will pay you back," Mr. Rodriguez insisted. "Every penny. I promise." "Pay it forward instead," Tom said. "When you are stable again, help the next family that needs it. That is all I ask." Later, Tom stood with James near the stage, watching the crowd still mingling and networking even as the event officially ended. "We did it," Tom said quietly. "We actually did it." "You did it," James corrected. "I just wrote checks. You built this. You inspired this. You showed everyone what was possible. None of it happens without you stopping that day," Tom said. "You are the reason any of this exists." James shook his head. "I was just the first domino. You and Lucy are the ones who kept the chain going. This foundation will help people long after we are both gone. That is a legacy, Tom. That is what matters." Lucy appeared beside them, her face flushed with excitement. "Daddy, did you see? People are still donating. The website keeps showing new contributions. This is really happening." Tom pulled his daughter close. "It is really happening. And it is because of you, baby girl. You started all of this the day you refused to give up on me." "We started it together," Lucy said. "And we are going to keep it going together." The three of them stood there, surrounded by the evidence that kindness worked, that community mattered, that love and hope could triumph over any adversity. Tom thought about that rainy day 3 years ago. He thought about how close he had come to giving up completely. He thought about what he would have missed, this moment, this foundation, this community of people who believed in second chances. He thought about how one person's decision to stop and help had created ripples that were still spreading outward, touching more lives than anyone could count. And he thought about the future, about all the families the Second Chances Foundation would help, about all the children who would not go hungry, about all the people who would discover that they mattered, that they had value, that someone saw them. "You know what the best part is?" Lucy said, still watching the crowd. "Every person we help tonight will help someone else tomorrow. And those people will help more people. It never stops. The kindness just keeps multiplying." "Like ripples in a pond," James observed. "Exactly," Lucy said. "One stone thrown in the water, and the ripples go on forever." Tom looked at his daughter, at this remarkable young woman who had grown from a desperate 8-year-old into a force for change. He looked at James, the man who had saved them and then trusted them to save others. He looked at the room full of people who had shown up because they believed in hope. And he felt something he had not felt in years, complete peace. Not because everything was perfect. There would always be more people who needed help, more struggles to overcome, more work to do. But because they were doing the work. Together. As a community. With love and compassion and unwavering belief in the goodness of humanity. The little girl who begged for just one spoon had shown the world that hunger could be satisfied, that despair could be overcome, that darkness could be transformed into light. All it took was one person willing to stop. One person willing to see. One person willing to help. And the millionaire who saw everything that day had learned the most valuable lesson of all, that wealth meant nothing compared to the richness of a life spent lifting others up. As the evening finally wound down and people began leaving, Tom took one last look around the convention center. At the decorations in bright, hopeful colors. At the empty tables where hundreds had gathered to support a cause. At the stage where 3 families had been given second chances. This was just the beginning. The Second Chances Foundation would grow. It would help thousands of families over the years. It would employ dozens of people dedicated to compassion. It would become a model for other cities. But more than that, it would prove something essential. That giving up was never the answer, that kindness was never wasted, that love always won in the end. Tom Bennett, once homeless and hopeless, was now a vice president, a homeowner, a community leader, and the co-founder of a foundation that would change countless lives. Lucy Bennett, once a terrified child begging for food, was now a confident young woman whose programs fed hundreds and whose example inspired thousands. James Crawford, once just a wealthy businessman, was now a true philanthropist who understood that the best investment was in human dignity. Together, they had created something beautiful from something terrible. Together, they had proven that second chances worked. Together, they had shown the world that one spoon of kindness could feed a lifetime of hope. And as they walked out of the convention center into the warm Nashville night, Tom held Lucy's hand and looked up at the stars, the same stars they had looked at from their front porch countless times. "We did good, Daddy," Lucy said softly. "We did great, baby girl," Tom replied. "And we are just getting started." Behind them, the lights of Nashville glowed bright. Ahead of them, a future filled with purpose and compassion stretched out like an open road. The little girl had begged for one spoon. The millionaire had given her everything. And together, they had learned that the greatest wealth in the world was not money or power or success. It was love. It was kindness. It was hope. And it was knowing that in a world that could be cruel and cold, there were still people who would stop, who would see, who would help. People like James Crawford. People like Tom Bennett. People like Lucy Bennett. People who believed that everyone deserved a second chance. And who were willing to give it, one person at a time, one act of kindness at a time, until the whole world understood that we were all connected, all responsible for each other, all capable of making a difference. The story that began with desperation had ended with triumph. But really, it had not ended at all. It was just beginning, and the ripples would go on forever.